Right, so housekeeping, no fire alarms, Mr. Triggers.
Not urgent.
No, if there's fire alarm, make your way to car park and the office of director exactly where we're going.
Yep, that's correct.
Please speak clearly, by the chair, please. And those online, put themselves on mute, if possible, thank you. Right, apologies for absence.
Received apologies from councillors Haywood Booth and Quinn, Chair.
Thank you. Item 2, to approve as correct record of minutes of the meeting held on 11th of June. It's a lifetime ago, isn't it, really? It's, I think there's a few weeks summer in between. So the minutes with amendments, item number 98, detailed there. Any comments before? No? Can I have a two? Councillor Jones, secondary. Councillor Walker. That's it. Anyone? Oh, discussion, I didn't see it, so thank you. Councillor Jones, didn't see it. You noted to Mr.
Just Mr. That's
Oh, Mr. Thank you. Right. Moving on. Items brought forward, the chair should consider as matter of urgency. I think I've only got one. I think it's just to remind councillors if you please do your online box of training, if you haven't done that so far. Particularly for governance and our risk register is about IT security. I'll leave that with you. I'm sure our client will remind us if we haven't done it. Yes. Any declaration of interest?
I've received them.
No. Thank you. To agree the agenda between part A and part B, can I have a number, please? That's a visual again, sorry. And seconded, Councillor Walker.
I think you've missed me, and that's why I missed it.
It's your beard, I think I'm just mixed up. And also you start with Councillor Walker a little bit. So, moving on. Internal audit progress report. I think that is Mr. Brad Hutton to present that. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Good evening, everyone. So yeah, Brad Hutton from Devon Insurance Partnership. I'm not Paul, as you eagle-eyed amongst you all noticed. Paul Middlemass retires in June, shortly after the last audit committee. Yeah, I'm very pleased to be working alongside with you. Just one point to note, we have changed our name, or updated our name to Devon Insurance Partnership now. So we still kept the acronym DAP, which is handy, so I'm very used to saying that. But we have dropped the audit function. It's not to say that we don't do audit anymore, because of course we do, but there's lots more that we do offer: risk management, fraud, data analysis, etc., etc. So it's more to recognise the assurance work that we do as opposed to just audit. So we are on page 19 of your packets here this evening for our in-year monitoring report, and it is just that. So we are just monitoring the performance this time as opposed to any annual recognition. But if I draw your eyes to page 21, which just focuses on our introduction to the report. So yeah, make mention to Paul retiring. We have completed 4 audits so far this year. So that is Treasury Management and Environmental Protection. Both of those were awarded a substantial assurance rating. And Economic Development and Lottery were awarded a reasonable assurance rating. We are commencing audits in the following areas which are progressing well, which is creditors, corporate planning, museum and corporate programs. They are quite close to being issued, actually. So yeah, we'll be very pleased to bring them along to the next governance committee. Page 22 just shows our high-level internal audit plan, and you'll note that we have split them to the different areas of the organisation. That's just a visual way to kind of show where, I guess, our priorities are and your priorities as an organisation to provide that assurance work. And then the following page is the same plan, just shows where we completed that work. There is a key just in the middle there. So your sort of darker green is your higher rated substantial, lighter green is your reasonable, and the yellows are just the in progress reports of what we're doing currently at the moment. You'll see there, there's just the pages go on page 24. There's just progress against the plan there, which kind of just details along with the pie chart on the right-hand side, the work that we've got in progress and the ratings that go alongside that. Page 25 onwards just shows a little bit more detail about the reports that we've issued so far, along with some commentary there. Like I say, all four reports all coming back, either substantial or reasonable for us, which we're pleased to see. That's good progress so far. And past the summer holidays now, where obviously lots of officer leave and our own leave as well, it's good to kind of get back into the swing of things and make some progress on the other audits that we've got there. So Chair, that kind of concludes my update, but I'm happy to take any questions or receive any comments.
Any questions, anyone? No? The plan's come all that way from where you live now, but it's definitely not North Devon, is it?
Don't give your address.
Not all the time. Very pleased.
That's a clarity, really.
Yes.
New standards are coming out in 2025.
Yes.
Is that something that will be advising us on, or through the officers?
New auditing standards? Or
Yes.
Standards.
The new auditing standards?
Yeah, so normally, obviously, they would go through Devon Partnership.
Yeah.
Because obviously that's how they carry out the audit function.
Yes.
Yeah. Obviously, any impact of that would obviously then be cascaded down to us as officers.
Yeah.
We would normally pick those up through updates that we have through Devon Audit Partnership, and also other events that we may well attend as well.
Yes.
Anything of significance obviously will be reported through in his normal progress report.
And one of our members is used to work in a daytime job, I believe, hasn't you? So we can't touch about it. No. Yeah, I suspect it.
Yes, but we'll be pleased to advise, obviously, as and when. As you quite rightly stated, Chair, anticipating early in the new year, but watch this space essentially. They're important, obviously, because it kind of governs how we do things, essentially. So, obviously, incredibly important that we're close to them, and as and when that changes, we'll advise. And of course, if it changes our approach in any way, we'll have to you advise yourself and members, Chair. But no news. Yeah.
And I think you did some audits with us before, or left us, but you're getting the support you need, helping this from our officers.
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry, the case, but
yes,
it's
absolutely.
been recorded and on the spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've worked with him for a few years now and working with John now. So very good relationship there, and all going well so far.
Right.
Could I ask one question? When I was looking at a quality audit, and you'll go, blah, blah, blah. When an audit committee's working well, they seem to be able to meet with the internal auditors. I don't know if it's regularly or once a year, but now these guys here, for independence. Does that happen? Can we make that happen? Or?
We can definitely make that happen. Yeah, I can't answer to Paul's what Paul did before without checking, but absolutely to answer your question, more than happy to. Yeah, and I think that just provides a robust control framework. So more than happy.
Thank you.
I was looking at best practice, we're looking at other councils, and one I looked at had a session afterwards if you want to meet or make appointments. So.
That would work too, doesn't have to drive all the way up there.
So there's something I wanted to look at, make the offer there, but I think we have it quite a lot and transparent. And those who don't remember that, what I believe is that only extracts of the report if it's substantial or readable. More details put in the report if it's below that. Correctly, I don't think that's correct.
Yeah. Something when it comes to
Yeah. And if you did want a full report, that can be emailed out as full lengthy reports. Good. Straight.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just to come back on also a question around the meeting with auditors. Previous to Devon Audit Partnership coming, we used to previously arrange that both external audit and internal audit could meet with the committee prior to the governance committee.
Right.
So on the same day, especially if they're travelling across the country. But again, depending on your committee's requirements, whether that can be facilitated or not, there used to be a session prior to the governance committee starting at 6:30. For 15 minutes or 30 minutes prior to that committee. So
That's actually
one option, but again, considering obviously other members' work commitments, etc., as to whether that works out for you as a committee. But that's something you can take away and discuss.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. That's it. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your hard work and, the detailed report. Thank you. Right. Moving on to, right, item 7. Not heard yet from our external.
Chair, so Bishop Benning should be joining.
Shall I propose that we put that back on the agenda, a bit further on the agenda?
You can,
No,
obviously,
I can
I can always give an update.
Yeah, that's, we hope that,
Obviously,
it's one line. Well, you need to vote on that topic, so. That's Jones.
I'll second your proposal.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Jones.
You're missing him as well. It's the beard, isn't it? I'm glad that you didn't mistake Paul because of his beard.
Yes.
So clarity, all in favour that we put back the item later.
Three officers there feeling very left out because they don't have beards.
Thank you. Wish I could draw a beard, but yeah.
Clean shaven, Chair.
There's no band for you.
Have we got anyone to talk to us on agenda 8? Okay, John. So future proofing of our workforce, agenda item 8, page 31 to 42. If you recall, this was linked to our risk register. Seeing any more information on, but
So thank you, Chair.
Jake, thank you.
So members, this came up in the previous governance committee, as Chair just alluded to, on discussion about corporate risk register, around how we're resourcing in the authority, what we're doing to try and protect the workforce moving forwards, how we're future proofing in terms of workforce planning, and obviously identifying some of the risks and challenges that we face as an organisation. So this report sets that out. We've broken it into sort of 6 areas. Firstly, around how we're attracting employees to NDC. Secondly, some positive action around how we're developing, upskilling and retaining, looking to retain our employees. Then moving on to some recent recruitment successes that we're pleased to report about. And then talking a little bit about organisational development, areas around employee wellbeing and what we're doing to try and help employees, especially with some of the challenges that they face both internally in the organisation and externally. And then also looking further ahead, what we're doing around succession planning and workforce planning. So they're the 6 areas that we've tried to break the report out into. As members can appreciate, all local authorities are struggling and have experienced challenges in employing and retaining staff. The challenges we face are very similar to other local authorities. There's national shortage in some professions that we've experienced and what other authorities have experienced. Areas such as planning, environmental health, building control, we've talked about before. Previously, we had struggles in recruiting for HGV drivers. I'm pleased that's not quite a challenge, not quite such a challenge for us. Now that has alleviated, so we have no issues in terms of recruiting into that area of work. And alongside that, we have got an ageing workforce. The table on page 72 of your report shows the staff age distribution, and as you can quite clearly see, almost half of our workforce is over the age of 51. So it's important for us that we are doing things to protect that moving forwards, as well as obviously supporting all the workforce about what we're doing to try and ensure that we're planning for that stage in the future when maybe some of that workforce may decide to retire at some stage in the future. The secondly, alongside that, is the challenge that we've seen over the last few years in recruiting to North Devon. Previously, you could advertise posts and people would want to come and live in North Devon, work in North Devon. Obviously, in light of the pandemic and the increased technology and the ability to work from home, that has actually added a layer of complexity in terms of that dynamic, because people can actually choose to live in North Devon, but actually because they can work from home, they can actually have maybe a higher paid job from one of the cities, but have that benefit of them being able to live in North Devon and only travelling maybe occasionally for that role. So that's the added dynamic that we've seen, where in the past it was a much easier sell to recruit into some of our posts. So that hybrid working obviously has benefited people, and obviously does benefit our workforce, but obviously has added that layer of complexity. That is changing because some organisations now are making a push to bring their staff back into the office. So whereas before people could work from home predominantly most of the time, quite a number of organisations now are making that push to bring people back into the organisation. We've got quite a flexible approach here at North Devon, where we've not said everybody has to be in on X number of days. We've tried to find a balance depending on what benefits each team, because different teams have different dynamics. For some, it benefits them being potentially more at home than in the office, but we always make sure there's some in the office presence so that they're feeling part of the team. But obviously that is the challenge that we face. But also it's around us offering those flexible working arrangements to attract new people into the organisation. So that's where hopefully we've tried to be flexible, and that is an added benefit then of moving forward to the post that we advertise. That added flexibility is important, and obviously some people choose, rather than being employed by an organisation, they choose to go down the agency route. And obviously we had a report 12 months ago where we discussed obviously the agency spend on the authority, and obviously for some that does suit their perfect circumstances. But for us, that is our last port of call really in terms of covering any vacancies we have. We obviously want to try and add that flexibility into the employment posts that we offer. So firstly, what are we trying to do to mitigate that risk in terms of attracting employees to North Devon? We've completely redesigned our recruitment pages. They were quite outdated. We've had them for a number of years. So what we've tried to do is make them a lot more attractive, a lot more exciting for people who are seeking those opportunities. We've added some professional videos. We've also tried to give a real sense of the culture and what it's like to work for North Devon Council, and what a wide range of career opportunities are out there for staff. And also what the various entry points are into those posts. So people could come in into a high level post and a senior officer post, or potentially come in at a lower level through a graduate scheme or maybe through an apprenticeship scheme. So trying to offer alternative ways into roles in the council, and again supporting them with development opportunities and training opportunities. We've also significantly widened where we advertise for these posts, whereas previously it might be an advert in a local paper and on our website. We've now tried to widen that to reflect the higher use of some of the alternative channels that are out there. So we advertise posts on Facebook, we use LinkedIn, Indeed, Public Sector Today, South West Times, and also for specific roles, we'll go to maybe some of the professional places to advertise as well, such as the planner for specialist roles. So where there might be some areas where those specialist professional roles, we tend to try and focus the advertising there as well. And the benefit of that is we have seen an increase in the number of applications to posts on the back of that, and widening that audience that we reach out to. The Local Government Association have also carried out a national recruitment campaign, and that's been launched in conjunction with SOLIS, which is the Society of Local Authority Chief Executives. And that is around trying to promote the opportunities within local government and highlight the benefits and a long career that can have, and the varied opportunities that are available. We've also enhanced our apprenticeship offer. Our apprenticeship pay offer was increased in 2023 in terms of increasing the pay opportunities, and also looking at when those apprentices have some of their development and training, at what point would they then potentially move on to the level of graduate scheme, so that there is a career path after they've done their apprenticeship. And that's seen a real increase in the number of apprentices and graduates that we brought into the organisation as well. In terms of new employees coming in, when we offer a post to somebody, there's obviously a time between us offering and coming into the organisation. And that's the time really when we want to prepare them for coming in, so that they don't come in on day one without sort of knowing what type of organisation it is. So that process is called onboarding. And what we are now looking to do, and have been rolling out through our HR system, is enabling our new starters to sort of prepare for that start with us. So that gives them access to all the information about the organisation. There will be welcome videos, there'll be photos of senior management team, so that it doesn't feel strange when they come into the organisation for their first day of employment. And giving that understanding of how the organisation works, what type of organisation they're coming into, hopefully makes them feel a lot more welcomed and supported as they come in and begin that new career with us. For many years, we've also worked very closely with schools, secondary school organisations, and also worked with the careers officers within those schools. And we support them with things that we're doing at the moment, such as apprentices, opportunities. We also carry out mock interviews, interviewing training. We also have visits into our main offices here at Brinsworthy, both for the careers officers and also for schools coming in, so they get to see what the organisation offers. It's not just about waste and recycling. There's so many varied roles within the council, and it's important that school children can come in and understand what the organisation does and the types of jobs that we have on offer and the projects that we're involved in. So we're doing a lot of work with those careers officers. We also work quite closely with the Job Centre. And again, we offer training for both them as clients and also, their staff who work for them, but also their clients in terms of interviewing techniques, also how to apply for jobs. So we offer some support around interviewing skills. In addition to that, we've also offered interview training skills to help local Ukrainian and Afghan refugees and helping them to assist them getting into employment as well. So a lot of work's taking place around working with local schools, working with the career opportunities that are available. For the first time this year, we took part in the Local Government Association National Graduate Development Programme. That's a step to coming into the organisation and building those managers for the future. And the programme matches graduates to councils and offers a 2-year placement. And delighted to say we've had a process where we've interviewed 4 exceptional candidates, and our placement started with us at the beginning of September. So she's recently started with us. We will bring her to a governance committee at some stage. You get to meet her. She's being placed in various placements across the council. She started work in our programme management office so she can understand all the various projects and work that we're involved in at the moment. She'll be spending some time within Market Towns area as well. That's an area of interest that she wants to explore. And secondly, we also this year took part in the Local Government Association Pathways to Planning Graduate Scheme to equip graduates to become our next generation of planners. And again, pleased to have appointed into that scheme as well. We've been very proactive through Sarah's team in communicating the good work that the council does through our social media posts and through the press. So there's a lot more information going out there now about what the council does, the exciting projects that we've been involved in, the work that our officers are undertaking. You've seen videos on the Future High Streets Fund project through our conservation officer. And that type of exposure really sort of sells what the council is doing. And hopefully that shows potential candidates the type of work that candidates may be interested in coming into the council to explore. And that positive exposure is important not only through communications, but also through you as members, so that we're selling the type of work that the council is doing. And all of that positive action has started to see improvements in the numbers of people we're getting coming forwards for applications for jobs, as well as the wider range of where we're advertising these posts. We're seeing a lot more stronger candidates and an increase in the volume of candidates coming forwards. Moving on to how we're developing, upskilling and retaining the staff that are already in the organisation. We have a number of officers who have taken on high-level training within the planning service. We've got an officer undertaking an apprenticeship, an MSc in urban planning. We've got an officer undertaking chartered town planning degrees. We've got 2 graduate officers undertaking specialist master's degrees in planning, and 2 officers undertaking chartered town planning apprenticeships at level 6. All of those are funded through the apprenticeship levy. This is a levy that we have to pay into as an organisation because we have a salary over a certain level, and therefore we have to pay 0.5% of that into the apprenticeship levy. That levy then pays for training that we can then access. So there's a pot that we can then access for that training, and then we can use that to pay for the training courses that we can send our staff onto. Within environmental health and housing, we've got 2 officers undertaking a level 6 environmental health practitioner's apprenticeship, again fully funded through the apprenticeship levy. Both of those officers who came through the apprenticeship are now graduates within the neighbourhood warden area. We've got 1 officer within the food team and another officer now based in environmental protection. So they've moved from their apprenticeships now into the graduate scheme. And in building control, we've got 1 officer undertaking a level 6 degree in building control surveying. So the apprenticeship levy is being maximised as much as we can to offer those opportunities to staff within those areas, but also in areas where we struggle to recruit into. So we're offering those apprenticeship opportunities, those graduate opportunities, training the staff, and then in a sense growing those staff to then become our planners and our housing officers moving forwards. In addition to that, Council have also recently approved a number of training opportunities for existing staff to upskill and gain higher level qualifications. These are through Exeter College and Exeter University. So through the university, we've got 5 employees undertaking Chartered Manager at level 6 and 1 employee who will undertake a level 7 leader and an MBA. Plus, we have one employee undertaking a level 5 qualification through Exeter College. So these are qualifications that aren't offered through the local colleges, and again, gives that exposure of a higher level qualification for staff to tap into, but again, supported through the apprenticeship levy as well. In terms of the outcomes of some of those measures and what benefit that's had in terms of attracting people into the organisation, some examples of positive recruitment we've seen within planning. We've successfully appointed a senior planning officer within enforcement, a graduate through the Pathway to Planning scheme that I touched on, and also a senior planning support officer. In building control, you'll recall probably 12 months ago, I talked about the struggles we've had in recruiting to some of those posts and the level of agency spend that we were incurring as a partnership with Mid Devon. Pleased to report that we've now appointed into posts of senior building control surveyor, and a trainee building control surveyor, who again is going off and doing his qualifications as well. And then finally, within environmental health and housing, we've now appointed a lead senior EHO, environmental health officer, environmental protection, a senior environmental health officer in food, a senior environmental health officer in the private sector housing area, graduate environmental health officer, a temporary accommodation officer, housing officer, apprentices in EHO, in neighbourhood officers and housing officers in our young persons and housing advice. So I think a lot of the measures that we put in place have actually attracted a lot of interest in coming to work for North Devon Council. Our key now is obviously retaining those individuals, and what are we doing in terms of offering them not only the training opportunities, but all of the other packages and measures to keep them here and stay in North Devon and work in a wonderful place. So in terms of organisational development, individuals are seeking more than just employment. They want that employee relationship, they want that flexibility, that better work-life balance, some career progression, and enrichment in the job that they carry out. Those cultures and values are important to them. So it's important we have a place that people want to come to work for, are proud to work for North Devon, and also they understand how their contribution fits in with the corporate objectives that we've got as a council and those corporate plan objectives that you set as members. So they need to feel valued, they need to feel listened to and encouraged to come forwards with ideas and suggestions. And we need to offer mechanisms for them to be able to do that. That's achieved through regular check-ins with their managers and their supervisors. We have an organisational development group that's made up from staff who come forwards, not that we've picked, they come forwards to sit on that group from a variety of service areas, and they come forwards from a mixture of different roles. That group meets bi-monthly, and they explore issues, challenges, and they're encouraged to come forward with ideas for change. And it's important that they're listened to and that we take on board those ideas and that we work closely with that organisational development group. In addition to that, we have staff surveys, we have regular team meetings, and the Chief Executive also does a regular blog to keep everybody in the organisation updated on things that are happening. The Organisational Development Group, one of the things that they came forwards with, and one of the outcomes is set out on page 37. And this was the development of the council's behaviour framework that's been embedded in the organisation now for the last couple of years. This set out the desired behaviours, what we expect from each other, whatever level within the organisation and the office is at. And that framework was developed by that organisational development group, so i.e. from our employees, for the benefit of our employees. So it wasn't set out by management to say this is what we want, this was set out by that organisational development group. And it's set out around 5 distinct areas, as you can see: integrity, collaborative, achieving results, nurturing, and being curious. That framework is a living framework, and it's embedded right the way throughout the council, whatever level you're at, and also is something that we strongly use when we're recruiting into posts. So when we're doing advertising, all of our heads of service, when that recruitment was carried out, were recruited on the basis of that behaviour framework and had to demonstrate areas within that framework as part of their appointments. Moving on to employee wellbeing, and obviously employee wellbeing is a very important factor for the council in terms of supporting our employees, as well as obviously bringing people into the organisation. It's important that we fully support our employees when they're here. We have a number of areas in wellbeing where that's set out. We have a wellbeing and flexible working strategies and policies. We've also trained mental health advisors. We have mental health awareness for managers, so they're aware of the things to look out for and how they have the skills and tools to help support the staff within their teams. We have occupational health support, and we also have a self-referral counselling service that people can contact, and that's called Workout Solutions. And again, that's something that's confidential, that staff can contact and receive counselling sessions. But again, the organisation doesn't get to be involved in that process. It's purely separate from the organisation. We also do sessions with staff on financial wellbeing. We have sessions on pre-retirement. We also have sessions and offers around additional pension opportunities through additional voluntary contribution schemes where staff can increase their pension opportunities further down the line. We also have a wide range of staff wellbeing sessions and webinars such as healthy eating and stop smoking. And all of this is rolled out through our organisation development team. We have a wellbeing hub, which provides lots of useful information for staff to be able to access. We also provide free flu jabs for staff who can't get them through who are not eligible to get one through their GP. So there's a whole range of support mechanisms that are in place in terms of wellbeing, and so they're set out on pages 37 and 38 of your report. In terms of moving forwards and what we can do then around that age, identifying that we showed earlier in terms of an ageing workforce, what are we doing in terms of future planning for the organisation? Nikki and the team are reviewing the full profile of our current workforce to identify and give us a clear picture in relation to age, where we've also got single points of failure and also some of those critical roles within the organisation. That's being done at service level, but will also then be looked at holistically by the management team, and that will shape how we move forward in the organisation and what measures we're putting in place to protect and make sure that we've got that future planning in place. That's not just around replacing like for like, because services will change, technology will change, and the type of resource we might need in 5-10 years' time may be different to what we're looking at now. So it needs to take on those changes and those challenges as we move forwards. In terms of some of the examples that are linked to that, we are aware or have known that there is a planned retirement of a bereavement service manager. That officer had already reduced their working hours, and we knew that they were going to be retiring from the organisation at a point in the future. So rather than waiting for that to happen and then go out to the market, we put in place a trainee bereavement manager. That post has started this year and is undertaking all of the steps in order to be trained and get the relevant qualifications to then move into that substantive post at the appropriate time when that officer fully retires. So that's just an example of how we're planning, and we're trying to put measures in place so that we're growing the organisation and making sure that we're protecting for when that type of activity happens. We've also widened the pool of officers who carry out internal health and safety. Previously that was held by one officer. And that was a single point of failure in the organisation that identified. So that officer wasn't around or was on holiday. We obviously then were a little bit light in the health and safety area. So that's now been widened across 4 individuals within that team. So they are all now going to be training, picking up the health and safety responsibility. We're also fully supportive of growing our own staff. That's evident, as you can see, a couple of staff in the room tonight. I won't name them, but again,
2 or maybe 3 at least.
2, maybe 3, started with the organisation 30, 40 years ago as trainees, have been supported through the organisation and grown and obviously gained qualifications, and obviously are now in senior officer positions. So I think that's evident in terms of how the council has supported its workforce moving forwards, how it's invested in staff, and how it's looked then to retain staff moving forwards. Joe, I think that gives a bit of a summary in terms of the flavour of what the challenges we have had, what we've tried to do to address some of those challenges, how we've managed to fill quite a number of vacant posts that the organisation was sitting on. And hopefully the benefits of that is that we've now got a more fuller organisation, less vacant posts, staff that feel valued and feel invested in and trained, and moving forwards, hopefully address some of the resource challenges that we face. Those challenges aren't going to go away, but hopefully the measures that the team have put in place give members reassurance that we're doing everything we can to make North Devon a fantastic place to work for.
Thank you, Chick. Miller glass of water then.
Getting a bit husky, Chair.
It's safe to us reading their thought about so it may not have read it, but a lot of information, right? But thanks a lot. But I know that last year with the agency report, the press took a lot of interest in it. I hope the press would show a lot of interest in this report, all the practice that you've taken on board. I'll open up for any comments. Councillor Bushell.
I think I would just like to give my thanks to the officers for having this level of foresight. Personally, I think that promotion from within is a very good strategy. People are happy with an organisation and they can progress their careers. They're likely to stay with us. So thank you for SMT and to HR for being on board with this, doing the extra work and supporting the promotion from within.
Councillor Walker.
Yeah, similarly to Councillor Bushell, I think that as an organisation, there's been a great improvement in retention and happiness of staff. I mean, I came in to do something completely different, met some of the people waiting for flu jabs, and they were really pleased that they could get their flu jabs through council, save them trying to get it elsewhere. The way the bereavement service managers' retirement has been handled is absolutely brilliant. With I know the crematorium committee feel that we have somebody coming in who has learned from a fantastic person who's in post at the moment, but is also going to bring her own ideas in, and I think that's a great way of handling that sort of change. And that's something that we're seeing more and more throughout the organisation, that there is people are thinking now about, oh, well, this person's likely to leave, so we need to think about what we're going to do well before it actually happens, rather than being caught on the hop. And that shows really well for North Devon. So,
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
You may have said this, but it's a lot in there to take in, but do you do exit interviews when staff do go, and do you learn any lessons from that information?
Yes, we do, and so every officer who has had their notice is offered an exit interview, and not everyone takes them up, but those that do, we sit down with them, we understand their reasons as to why they've chosen to leave. For some, it's quite simple, it may just be a higher level opportunity that potentially wasn't presenting itself here. But if there are lessons to be learned from maybe some of the experiences they faced, we take those on board and make sure through the organisation development teams that we're working to address those. If things are raised, we do put those up through those exit interviews.
And I also wanted to just repeat what they were saying. I think the fact you do grow your own and you do the apprenticeships is a really good idea, because that's what I did. After my degree, I did the AAT and sit there through work. And it's an opportunity a lot of people don't get.
Absolutely.
It's great.
Thank you. A lot here on what I call professional level, level 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
There's a reassurance it's still work development at levels 1, what our careers going hand workers.
Yeah.
There's support for them, what to be supervisory role or sort of junior management role.
Yeah, certainly obviously the ones that I picked out obviously were obviously some of the graduate level, some of the officers for the higher sort of qualifications through Exeter College, Exeter University. But beneath that, we've got lower level qualifications that have been carried out. A number of those being carried out through Petrock. So we've got a new apprentice who started in Adam's team, who's starting their AAT qualification. So again, that's at a level 4, level 4.
Yeah.
So right the way down to sort of the lower level qualifications. We're also supporting Petrock through the other scheme as well.
Okay,
Not apprenticeship.
That's
T levels. So again, we've also worked closely with Petrock around T levels. Yeah, thank you.
We do actually have two level students at the moment, and actually we've just appointed an IT apprentice who actually came to us last year as a T level student. He applied for the role and is now going to actually start working for us.
thank you. Councillor Jones, I didn't see it, we have some.
Yeah, it's just echo on that, because you might know that I chair a UK Travel Agent developing apprenticeships in the marketing industry nationally. And it's brilliant to see how the organisation is so effectively using apprenticeships. It's something I've done in the business I work in, and it's such a brilliant way to bring people on from beginning to end of this. It's also brilliant to see your use of senior level apprenticeships in this sector. It's really positive. Just intrigued to know is there a regular staff survey?
Yes.
And if do we get the opportunity to see those those results? Is that shared back to members through this medium? Because I would love to see that, it'd be really helpful.
Yeah, so we do annual surveys for staff, so there's annual wellbeing surveys, but we also do a sort of a light touch pulse survey every month. So again, that's where staff can go in, but the results in that's summarised. It doesn't come to members, obviously it comes to management team, and also we circulate it to all the staff so they get to see those results as well. But yeah, again, don't see any reason if members were interested in seeing some of that data. Again, it doesn't give individual data available, it gives a summary of how the organisation is performing and how it's moved from maybe the last survey, if that's something that members would be interested
I
in.
think that'd be really valuable.
I mean, it's something that we can bring forward as an update.
Yeah, and sort of in a year time, if you start this register for retention, recruitment, I think it's something to incorporate within that as well.
I'm happy to provide that.
And on a similar point, the organisational development sounds fantastic and really, really, really valuable. I'm just intrigued. Is there member involvement as well?
No member involvement. So there's obviously officer involvement from senior management team, but it is just an officer group across right away across the organisation. So it's not a formal group in that sense where members would sit on it. I think also the opportunity for that group is so they can come forward and be quite open. I don't know, and there's no disrespect to members, I don't know how open they would be if obviously members were at that meeting as well. Again, that's something we would need to find a balance on.
I just bring it up because my perspective might be that it might actually create a level of openness if there's other people that are listening that aren't just the senior management of the organisation. Because there's a broader range of people listening. Just flagging that. Maybe want to make a point to flag that to
Actually, make
ask them to have a look into whether they want to.
I think you should bear in mind that we need to stay away from operational measures.
It's finding that balance, Chair, but again, it's a valuable point that Councillor Jones picks up. So we'll feed that back through to the Chief Executive and also the Head of Organisation Development, who again apologise she couldn't be here tonight because obviously it's her report that obviously she would like to bring to present it. But we'll feed that back and say obviously members were keen to see whether there was any benefit of involvement from their side. And obviously we'll discuss that with the group.
It just seems like a really good opportunity when there might be grassroots ideas popping up that councillors could really have to try and support. But
Thank you. But if you pass off, I think we're pass on thanks from us all to the author of the report. It's a great report, I think. Well, I think it is a great report. I think it's very informative. This will go to all council and the agenda pack, so all councillors can see this.
They won't see the full report, Chair. They'll see the minute from the governance committee tonight.
Yes, of course.
Obviously, it's just for members to note. But obviously, obviously, if other members wanted to see it, it's
It's there, isn't it?
in the committee papers for members' perusal. And as you say, it's a very positive reflection, I think, of where the organisation is.
And I'm making assumptions here, but I think sort of more apprentices and trainees coming in will improve our age profile of the workforce. Make assumptions here, and that's sort of how you're going to be in quite.
I think, Chair, obviously, it's obviously the reflection of the currently workforce,
Yes.
but obviously there's a lot of experience there. But the apprentices coming in are obviously then learning, hopefully, from the more experienced staff. So there's a very good balance there in terms of bringing the apprentices in, but obviously they're learning from experienced staff who've been at the council. So hopefully it's striking the right balance.
That's for sure.
I just wondered if we could have a report from the coalface. You said that Adam had an apprentice in his team. I wondered whether he could just give us his views of where he thinks the benefits are. And obviously it takes a little bit more of your resources to bring them forwards.
Yeah, actually, we were just chatting about this earlier to say that really the apprentices are having a really positive impact, not just an opportunity for him, but for others within the team that can perhaps take on further opportunities themselves, because there's other work, somebody coming in beneath, they get to do that mentoring and a little bit of supervision as well. So it just opens up all those sort of opportunities. And the team can then sort of look at some more innovations within the system and that resource. So I really do think it's a win-win really for everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Thank you much. Moving on to agenda item 9, local government and social care ombudsman letter, pages 43 to 46. Senator Higgins, isn't it? Senator,
Yeah, yeah, I'm very happy to.
thank you.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Oh, John.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely fine. So this,
Sorry.
the actual.
Sorry, sir.
No, it's okay.
Sarah's signature.
No, that's fine. So yes, so this, the annual letter, from, Ombudsman that we receive each year. As you'll see, we have, 5 account decisions. Obviously not really much detail in the actual letter itself, but I'm more than happy taking any questions regarding, this,
Thank you. I think we've already seen these in the annual
yeah, that's correct, yeah.
things.
Yeah.
I recall these are all in the environmental section.
5 in total, so, 2 for waste and recycling and 3 for environmental health, and obviously I can't see any detail about those, but all 3 were staff. And related to respect of, we didn't have any staff on the ground, or our staff on the ground were severely less than what it should have been, so, those issues have obviously now been resolved with, we're now fully staffed in that area.
Any comments, anyone? No? Right, thank you much, sir.
That's very quick.
Well, yes, oh, hang on, so please, my daughter. That's
Yeah,
James.
thank you, thanks for sharing this information. I'm just intrigued as well, is through the customers, is there regular surveying going on in terms of customer communication?
Yeah.
Again, I'm just seeking visibility because I get different reports from members of our community, sometimes having challenges in reaching the customer service team. And I'm just intrigued to know, do you have a net promoter score system? Do you have an NPS system in place?
No, so we meet with all services regularly, so obviously we have CRM, so obviously that records everything. And within that, we record various pieces of information, including value failure. We meet with all services on a monthly basis. We go through the calls with them where things we think actually, if that was perhaps included on a website, it would negate the need for this many phone calls. So yeah, we meet, all services on a regular basis. So for instance, so for planning, we about 80% of all phone calls we can resolve at first point of contact. Similarly with parking, environmental health as well. So yeah, we do have a very close relationship with all the services that we obviously support.
In terms of actually customer feedback.
Yeah.
So,
So
in our organisation, I think it's a standard thing, I'm sure you probably do have it, is the NPS system. So it's that smiley face, you might have seen it in a standard, in the easiest way to do it, you have, because the majority of customers have been encouraged to email in or to contact electronically, supply an email address, you then simply automate an email address back, which simply asks them, based on the service you just received, how likely are you to recommend the organisation? Is that being done?
we do quarterly questionnaires, yes, absolutely.
To who?
To a mixture of our customers. So we obviously, as you said, we obviously do on various pieces of information. So now we've got Zoom, we've got better functionality. So for instance, we now have protocol surveys. And so we don't put up all lines at all times because it just becomes overload. People get this white noise and people don't do it.
Yeah.
But we do have the capability, and I believe, and I'd have to double check with, but I think it's one week of every month. We will put that post call survey on the customer services lines. And we'll say, if you're interested in taking part in a longer survey, please indicate yes, and then we then send them out a proper survey. So we know, rather than doing it ad hoc, and our response rate was really low previously. Now we've got this functionality, we are getting a much better response, and that only started at the start of this financial year.
Okay.
So we're at Q1 now, so we should be seeing far go into detail in respect of that feedback. So yeah, we're working with the services. We have the post survey and then a more in-depth survey later on that obviously is done on that. I couldn't take any numbers at this stage, as it's relatively new, but yeah, no, we are. Yes, we are doing that.
A formal request that we can see the results of those surveys, just to have an understanding.
That will be, it's a KPI anyway,
Okay.
but those numbers, there'll be more numbers behind it now, so I think normally we're about 95% satisfaction rate, but those numbers will now be higher in respect to, so they're maybe 50 a quarter, we have far more substantial information based on that one.
These reports go to strategy resources, there's some new detail behind that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, when it comes to sharing the actual information, we have to make sure we're not sharing any personal information,
Yeah.
because it really depends on what they put in it.
Forgive me, I might have already seen that report, had the opportunity to see it, but it would make sense for it to come to government. Because while we're looking at things like the letter that we've just read at the very top level, but for us to have a really good understanding of how good you guys are performing, those sort of things would be great. It's also the kind of information that you might want to be sharing, not just the headlines, sharing out on social media. If we've got a plus 95% happiness rate from customers, that's the sort of thing that when we sometimes it's upsetting, it must be upsetting for your teams when you go on social media and you've got trolls really laying into the council and the teams. If we've got these positive results, I think can they sharing them as well?
The only problem is with social media is it's how many positive stories we do on a regular basis. It soon gets turned into a negative by the comments, unfortunately. So it is a fine line sometimes. As soon as we say how well we're doing, it's like death knell as far as comments, if I'm honest with you. So I absolutely share, yes, we should be sharing, but sometimes social media doesn't take good news about ourselves in a very positive way, unfortunately.
I think there's always a lot more people reading than just the big comments.
No, absolutely. No, absolutely. And actually, most people would read that and think absolutely fantastic and scroll on. But unfortunately, it's the people that obviously then make the comments, and that then in turn makes staff feel worse because of the negative comments. So it's always balance, I think.
In one of the action plans, I think it was mentioned about more performance data being available to the general public, I think, so it's within.
Yeah, so currently the performance information goes to strategy resources,
Yeah.
on the policy meeting, and then goes to full council.
Yeah.
So this Wednesday, full council, you'll have the quarter one report that you've seen at various other committees. So all of that information goes to all members of full council. I think it's, I suppose, understanding where the role of governance committee coming in terms of scrutinising.
Andrew and I had a discussion earlier today, right?
There's something in there around if the satisfaction survey was saying actually it's not 95%, it's only 55%, there probably would be an argument then for honing in and asking what's behind that. That's not to say you can't see that data, but I think it's already been reported in the performance reporting already. I suppose if there's areas within there, whether it be that data, that KPI or others, that's probably where the governance committee would come in, just maybe scrutinise those areas if you wanted to see any of that in more detail, if you wanted to see what's behind that. Yeah.
I think you wanted to say.
Yeah, just you touched on the action plan. It is in the annual governance survey sort of audit action plan that we may want to look to make the council's performance more visible to the public.
Yeah.
As one of the recommendations.
Yeah.
So again, that may well tie into that annual report that we issue.
Perhaps we can discuss that at the next one-to-one, and Councillor John's always got a lot of experience we could share and think about. So leave it with me. I'll come back to you, is that all right?
Yeah.
Before we bring it back to here.
It's worth saying we also have a feedback quarterly report that goes to SMT, but also to the leader as well. It doesn't contain any personal information, but it does outline certain trends in certain times of the year. It indicates whether stage one complaints have increased or decreased. We can certainly circulate that later as well, because for instance, our stage one complaints for quarter one this year were 51% less than the previous year. So all things like that, I think perhaps that might be really useful as well for you to.
I think the biggest challenge is when we're sat in the parish council meeting and somebody really started going for it, but they contacted the customer service team X amount of times, haven't had any responses and this kind of stuff. it's so hard to know whether that's just a one-off or whether there's a broader issue there. And without visibility of that data,
Yeah.
it's really hard for us to know. And then we don't want to be in a situation where we're being overcritical, but in the sense that that information can give us the visibility and understanding.
Is it mainly waste recycling that
No,
relates to
it's
it? It's also, it's all,
Well, I think we should, but I think we'll take on board. I know Adam's, we've been having conversations with the leader about sort of.
Waste recycling was a different.
No, well, just generally, I think some.
let's have a chat outside this meeting, if you like, yeah.
Discussion about some information that councillors might want.
Yeah.
So things are being discussed, I'm not in a position to share that yet, well, I don't know what's happening. Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to item 10, after the report of the Chair of Governance. Opposed? Any comments on that? Item 10?
Just want to say thank you very much for a very thorough report on what's been happening.
Thank you. I also thank Health and Science President selectively. But I have been thinking about how I think our independent members will share some information about how we improve this type of thing. What other things we can share in the future reports. So trying to improve each time.
So just to note that.
So note that, I think, yes, thank you. Right, item 11, update to constitution and delegated powers to Harbour Board, page 372.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes, that's what I said. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Good luck to you on this one.
Oh, let's just be quite straightforward. But members, this is a change to the constitution,
Yeah.
really because Ilfracombe Harbour is having a harbour revision order put in place, and as part of that, the council, as the statutory harbour authority, is required to have a sort of consultee group, a formalised one, and the harbour board has recommended the establishment of the Ilfracombe Harbour Advisory Committee in order to create that. So when looking at that, it appears that there's a requirement for the Ilfracombe Harbour Board to have delegated powers to be able to point to that new committee, which is effectively something that kind of already exists in an informal way. I understand from the Harbour Master, they previously had a sort of a forum of harbour users, and so this is an establishment of that. The Ilfracombe Harbour Advisory Committee. So in Appendix A, that sets out the actual the constitution as it would appear, and Appendix B shows the track changes to that, and Appendix C is the constitution for the new the proposed committee. So as you can see there, I made it a little bit wider than just Ilfracombe Harbour because, of course, the council is also putting in place the to be the statutory harbour authority for Lindbergh too. So there is a potential chance that something similar will be set up there in the future. So to future-proof that's been put in place. I also understand that at paragraph 2 of the powers of the Harbour Board, there's the long-term strategy plan for harbours is actually now called the business plan. So that's a slight change too. But yeah, so this report's really just to recommend for this committee to recommend to full council that those changes are put in place.
Just to clarify, it was on the agenda for Ilfracombe Harbour Board in June, or did August. I couldn't get hold of the chair. She was attending a conference.
Yeah.
Can I assume, in a minute I'll go back, can I assume it's been agreed
Yes, that's right.
at the Ilfracombe Harbour?
So previously went through, I think, an August meeting, and as Simon's alluded to, like I say, there was previously an informal group that used to report to the Harbour Board as a Harbour user group. This is obviously just putting that formal group in place, so they will report to the Harbour Board. They have no voting powers, but obviously they, in a sense, are advising the committee and obviously as a sort of a consultee.
Thank you. So I thought it was a bit longer report, than what I've looked on. It's not quite as long as I thought, sorry. Councillor Bishop.
Back to move that we support this suggestion or
Okay,
agenda item.
any comments on all these? So, a seconder? All in favour? Thank you for the author, the question, please? Yes. No, we don't.
That's fine.
But we do respect your attendance and comments very much indeed.
We still look at you, but you don't look at your hand up.
If you went like that, that's why. No, thank you for that. You better last a little bit there, didn't you? Okay. Oh, right, another good one out. Item 12, update report on fraud investigations, 73 to 74.
Did you notice how Adam was like, yes, it's got more time now because Simon didn't take up too much.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it's actually sending it. It's time. Thank you.
It's just another routine report, really. But yes, so this is recommended to come in March and September each year. But yes, we're pleased to say that there are no incidents or updates to need to be made to the veracity of the conduct of the investigation report, stroke anti-fraud, corruption and bribery policy and strategy, and no incidents either. So yeah.
Just a note. Yeah. Any comments?
Those in
No. I mean, there has to come here because I think I'm quizzed as the chair by our external audit every year to make sure that these reports are presented here. So, okay, so just noted. Thank you. I'm sure. We okay? I don't know. We okay? Carry on. I don't wait between me.
I think it is Simon on the next,
Right. Okay.
And the next one.
Okay. So that's up there. Okay, moving on to item 13.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, yes.
The gates have been padlocked, so you're all locked in, but is that okay?
Okay, that's fine.
Fortunately, I have a spare set of keys in my car, but obviously to let Sarah out and also to make me up later. Excuse for 5 minutes, so I can go.
Thank you. Are you okay? Do you want to hold for 5 minutes?
I said we adjourn for a few minutes.
Do you want I come for a break for 5 minutes?
Yeah.
We've got 5 minutes to run back and back.
Just leave it.
Can we start?
Yeah.
Do we need to go on it? No. Can you press the button?
It's still got it on.
Okay.
I'm the only attendees in the
Yes.
application.
If you adjourn, you do need to formally open the meeting.
Just say formally opening it, as I was saying, formally on the meeting.
I normally vote in special.
Just a vote then. Thank you. Get all done. Thank you. All in favour? Yeah.
Be procedurally correct.
Yeah, okay, it's all, make your vote count. Okay. So I think we're on to item 13, exemptions to contract procedural rule, pages 75 to 76. And it's, Mr. Taylor, no, sorry, Mr. Fuller. Sorry,
Yeah,
that's right.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so this is minute 26 of the Strategy and Resources Committee. It's here just to bring to your attention in line with the contract procedure rules that the contract procedure rules were waived by Strategy and Resources in order to allow the council to enter into a contract with the council's current CCTV contractor to install additional camera in Anklewood. This is not of a particularly substantial value, and I think it was being taken to Strategy and Resources mainly because of the wider sort of context of putting cameras there and you know and it being funding from Section 106 monies rather than it going because of it being controversial point to give that supplier the contract. Normally that kind of value would be at officer the delegated level, but if there's any comments on it, that's it was just a.
Any comments? Councillor Walker.
Comment on CCTV cameras in general, rather than specifically this one, which we're really pleased to see go in, is, because it was reported in the press after Strategy and Resources that we didn't have any money for any more CCTV cameras anyway. And that was not what was said at the meeting at all. It was at the moment, we have no plans to put any more anyway.
Well, it's one meeting you missed. You're normally there, aren't you, in attendance? Yeah, you attend. Yeah.
I was.
You were there, wasn't you? Oh, sorry.
I think it was, we were talking, Chair, about obviously the wider division of CCTV.
Yeah.
Obviously, we reported, based on what was in the report,
Yeah.
obviously there was a question around future investment in cameras. So
Yeah.
we haven't got anything in the existing capital programme. That's not to say there wouldn't be funding available. And we would also look at external funding opportunities like we've had already for
Yeah.
some of the cameras in the town centres. But obviously, yeah, what was reported in the press was slightly different with that.
Yeah.
Well, what goes into the press, Chair?
No. They are very supportive of the press, so, yeah. Thank you. Any comments? No, just a note.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the one, so, this one. So item 14, review of the RIPA policy 2077-102. And is that another one for?
It's very
again, yeah.
Yes, that's a lot.
It'd take over, you know, chair meeting next time.
But thanks again, Chair. Yes, so this is a recommendation to approve the council's procedure for ensuring compliance with RIPA. That's the regulation of the Investigatory Powers Act 2000, and it's just that it's appropriate and that it should remain as currently drafted. On review of, so we're likely to be subject to a 3-year appraisal, I suppose. I can't think of the correct word, but by the IPCO, that's the Investigatory Powers Commissioner's Office. And I've noted that they were suggesting that this procedure should be brought to the attention of councillors on a yearly basis. So that's why this has been brought in, because obviously that hasn't happened really so far. So obviously it is being brought today, and there's a recommendation for it to be added to the work, program of work in the later item, so that it doesn't get missed off again. I mean, overall, yes, so the council's use of surveillance is, particularly covert surveillance is nil really. The council, as appropriate, hasn't had need to use covert surveillance powers since 2014, mainly because there are normally alternative ways to do the job really that might otherwise have needed covert surveillance, doing it in an overt way, which doesn't require approvals. So we provide an annual nil return to the IPCO for every year since 2014, and but the procedure, it doesn't mean that we should forget about it, because it's quite easy to inadvertently breach RIPA, by doing directed surveillance through social media or something of that kind, and therefore a bit more focus needs to be taken on, in terms of RIPA, which is why I refer 4.7 to training staff, which is a point of review really, and the proposal is to have it at that. Then so authorising officers took part in some online training recently. But so these are all officers who have powers to authorise covert surveillance. But there's also going to be some wider training generally in terms of increasing awareness at the next managers forum. I think it's in November. If memory serves, or late October, whatever. But in terms of the wording of the procedures, my view is that they remain correct and up to date in line with law and codes of practice. Of course, if the IPTO do their review and come back and consider there to be repetitive, they can be brought back as well. But yeah, I'm quite confident that it's well worded. It was approved by the IPTO back in 2021, just to say so. Assurance, in exchange since really.
Thank you. Any experts in the room? Tom?
Same, are there any experts in the room? Is this something that you're planning to bring to members' training? So we're equally aware?
That's a good point, actually. Yes, I mean, I do think it'd be worth, giving councillors a bit of a trend. Yes, I'll look into that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
That's a vision. Thank you. Right. Need approval?
Yes, you can see that.
Can I have a proposal? Councillor Bishop, second. Walter Jones. All in favour? Thank you. Good. I haven't forgotten the external auditors. Should we do that now? Should we do the external auditors update?
Whenever you want to, Chair. Obviously, they've not joined, sadly.
No.
But I'm happy to provide members an update on where the external audit is, and obviously you'll receive their report next time. I'm more than happy to give a brief
Should we do
overview.
that now then?
So, members, Chair.
Yeah. That's orange. I'm all in favour. Thank you. Straight. Thank you.
Just with my notes.
So this is item 7, external auditors. This progress report. Thank you.
Yeah, so members, this is the external audit, obviously, are currently auditing the 23-24 financial statements. So that's the audit of the last financial year. Some councils obviously are still having their prior years to that signed off. We're in a positive position that ours were signed off for up to 22-23. The audit deadline date for having your 23-24 financial statement signed off is March 2025. The plan is that the next committee in November, you'll receive the draft annual audit findings report, and also the annual audit letter from external audit, which will be the finalised position on the 23-24 audit. In terms of timetable, the plan is still in line to bring that to November. The audit files are currently being reviewed by Bishop Fleming. There are only a few queries and responses outstanding as of last week. The report we had back from them, they're very pleased with the North Devon team, and how quickly the finance team are responding to queries and getting information back to them. So again, in terms of getting information back to them to allow them to complete their audit, that's working very efficiently. There's a small amount of work outstanding with the valuers on valuation of the assets. They say that that work is largely done, and no issues so far to report. So again, positive in terms of the high level value work that they do on the external value of the audits on the assets. There's a couple of follow-up questions that they're bringing with the team, but again, that's being dealt with the office directly. The majority of their audit sampling is now done. They're just carrying out those final checks and the draft reports being provided for their senior officers, i.e. the officers that you would have received the update from at this meeting tonight, with a view then that their draft report will come to us as management in the next, hopefully, couple of weeks in advance, and of us finalising the management comments back on that report, so it can then come and be presented to you members at your November meeting. So at your next meeting, you should hopefully get that draft report, hopefully with an unqualified opinion on the financial statements, which is what you're looking for, and also the annual audit letter with then the final accounts that will then get produced and taken to full council a couple of days after the governance committee. So, Chair, that's as positive report as I can give in terms of the external audit position. Obviously, they'll report on that at their next meeting, but that gives members no view that everything is going according to plan and well before the deadline that you need to have those accounts signed.
Lovely position, I think, the timescale. Very lots of councils.
Lucky, I think it's due to the team providing the evidence as quickly
Yes.
as you can. I think that should be passed back See,
I think we'll,
to John and to his team, because I think that team functioning in the way that they function is probably why the auditors are able to keep to the correct timeframes. I don't know if that, do you think that's fair, that other councils
I think
are
it's
sufficient?
there's a couple of challenges this year. I think some of the external audit firms have, and obviously we've moved from our previous auditors with Grant Thornton. Grant Thornton is still dealing with some of the prior year audits with some of the councils as well. So again, some councils have got maybe some bigger challenges. They've got more than 1 year's worth of financial statements to sign off. We've moved to a new external auditor, which again provides some change in terms of the team that you're normally dealing with. But Adam and the team have built up a good relationship with the new external auditors. We've tried to work closely with them and be as responsive as we can. And again, I think that helps in terms of the efficiency of the information we've got back to them, and hopefully then concludes with a positive audit report that we'll receive. So I think it's a combination of a couple of different things.
and I think it's, the actual, for the company, it's their first local government audit, isn't it?
It is, Chair, yeah.
But the staff they brought in have that experience.
Some of the staff have moved
Yes.
across from some of the other external
Yeah.
audit firms. So some of them have come from Grant Thornton.
I know, yes.
Some have come from other external audit firms and previously the audit commission. So there's a lot of local government experience in there. But it's their first year on some of the
Yes.
audits, but they seem to be on track. And again, for some councils, they haven't got that backlog of having to look at the prior year as well. So I think having that clean position from the prior year helps our audit for this year as well, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any comments? Thank you, John and team.
And Chair, thank you for your comment. We'll pass that back to the team and appreciate that. Thank you.
So item 15, audit recommendations tracker, pages 103, 116.
Thank you, Chair. So this is your normal audit recommendation tracker. If I can move you through, so Appendix B, which starts on page 107, just sets out the prior audit recommendations that have been completed since the last update that you received back in summer. So number of audit recommendations have been closed off with update notes on their completion. Appendix C are a couple of overdue actions where some date extensions have been requested. Please report you only have two. I'd rather be in a position where I'm reporting none, but I'm reporting two. The first one is slightly out of our control because this is to do with the Devon emergency planning, and obviously our plans link to the wider Devon emergency plan. And obviously some of the updates obviously are waiting for their updates, which is now looking like it's early 2025. So we're 75% through that work. We have emergency plan procedures in place, but some of the updates are reliant on obviously the work carried out by Devon County Council. So due to that dependency, we are requesting a further extension of time until March 25, following the publication of their plans, so that we can make sure that our local plans are updated accordingly. It is the sixth request. We have made that clear on the report, but again, we are relying on obviously the Devon County Council plan. So obviously if their dates have slipped, then obviously subsequently that has an impact on ours as well. But we have the team ready for when those plans come out, so we can get those plans updated. The second extension over the page is around some housing policies that are on the website. They are being reviewed. The team have gone through some of those. The original intended date was the 31st of August. The housing team obviously have been under pressure, and obviously pressures of temporary accommodation, and sometimes those priorities do change, but they have gone through a number of those policies. So it is a very short extension to the end of this month. So a 1 month extension from the end of August to the end of September. So 2 extensions of time on those, Chair. Do you want me to pause at that point if there's any questions from members, Chair?
No, so of course, we'll then go back, and that was one thing.
So subject to those 2, if members are happy to approve those date extensions, means that Appendix D means there's no overdue actions that are outstanding on any other audit recommendations. Moving 2 pages on to Appendix E, these are the annual governance statements recommendations. Some of those have progress against. They are the updated 24 annual governance statements, so 23-24 annual governance statements being recently completed. Again, that's not been formally approved because it needs to go through full council when the statement of accounts are produced in September, but they have been listed on here And as you can see, a number of those have dates in the future, i.e. 31st of March 2025, with pieces of work that obviously are in transit in some cases. The dates where actions were due in relation to procurement strategy, with a due date of September 2024, that one has been completed. Members approved the procurement strategy at the July Strategy and Resources Committee, and procurement training is in place for officers. The update of the asset management plan, commercialisation strategy and housing strategy. All three strategies are being drafted. Two of them are almost complete. The housing one is currently being worked on. They are due to come to members at Strategy and Resources for approval. At the moment, the plan is to come to November for those approvals at the first week of November. But I'm pleased to report that we've got progress on the others, and none of those are over their due dates yet, Jeff.
Any
Let's get any
comments?
questions, Jeff.
Can you clarify the word yet in your last sentence?
It means that we haven't reached those target dates, Jeff.
Yes.
Not that you're expecting to them.
No, no,
Overrun,
no.
therefore they haven't exceeded them yet.
Correct, Jeff, because obviously the dates are in the future, as in September 24th. The end of this one.
Yeah. Councillor Bashaw,
Yes.
I'm in a position to thank the officers for listening to our views, and particularly your views about your extensions.
I do, you want,
Would you like to thank the officers, or you rather not?
Not yet.
send a message to Devon County Council saying that they're really messing up everything with us not giving extensions, and we don't like to be forced by the county council to let our good efforts, yes.
And obviously, I know obviously there's an ask there. Obviously, we have got emergency plans in place.
Yes,
think
I know.
the important thing
You said that.
is that this isn't a case of this is a new plan. We haven't got anything in the background. We have got emergency plans in place with the team. But obviously, we want to get this updated so we've got the up-to-date plan that ties in with their plan. But yeah, the team are constantly applying pressure to Devon County to get that information out of them.
I think in isolation that the need for extensions and the asking appears to have improved, but I'd like a greater data set.
Yes,
It's a long track record, and
there is celebration.
my thanks are pending, but not yet.
Yeah, Mrs. Whitmoff.
Councillor Whitman.
Mhm.
Yes. The only thing I feel posh. I think I've raised this before, but Appendix A, live audit reports, I think that the figures look a bit misleading to the way they currently are. If you look at lines 3, 6 and 8.
Page, again.
Sorry, page 105 on Appendix A. And we talk about progress, and you've got like on line 3, 72% progress. Is that towards the low risk audit that we're not worried about low risk? Is it medium, or is it the two high risks? And I personally want to know what the progress is against the high risk, but not really know about the others at all.
The fact they're not on your outstanding audit recommendations or we're coming for date extensions means that they obviously all of them are in progress. Some of them would have been completed. The 72% will be the average of what's outstanding there. So obviously there's 10 recommendations. That could be one recommendation that's only maybe a percentage of the way through and the rest are all complete. So again, there's detail behind that, but it would be the average that gives you the 72%. If members want more information on those, we can provide it. I suppose the reassurance to members is because they're not coming up on your outstanding audit recommendation tracker as dates that have been surpassed.
Yet.
There are the dates that are in the future that we are working towards, hence the progress. And therefore, in a sense, you've either considered them previously as part of those date extensions, or there's still dates in the future that were agreed with the auditors when the reports originally came forwards.
Okay, thank you.
If I recall, these percentages were quite low a few meetings ago. I think a lot of work has been done on that, particularly on the estate management. I recall. I presume they just short us there one time.
Unfortunately, we have been.
Yes,
So
yes.
we're putting plans in place to replace those. Yeah.
Could you explain your answer again? Sorry, I was just trying to explain it.
Yeah, certainly. So obviously on line 3, where it shows estates management, there were 10 recommendations in total. 1 low risk, 7 medium and 2 high, so 10 in total. Progress is 72%. Obviously, within those 10 recommendations, that's the average in the sense of what in a sense has been completed. But of those 10, that may have been 7 or 8 that have been fully completed, and a couple that might be 60% completed, with obviously still work to be done. But the average of all of those 10 comes out to the 72%. Without knowing the detail, I need to dig into those recommendations to see the progress on the 10.
The person with assurance that want to be councillor. Or, I'm confusing myself now.
Independent membership.
Independent member, that's right, yeah. We looked at the system, we spent time looking at the system, didn't we, of how they record progress. So anyone wishes to spend time with the officers to look at the data behind the scenes, but
So Chair, just to give some clarity, each of those recommendations are loaded into our Pentami system. So each one has the target date in terms of where it's due, progress to date, and obviously the progress bar that's then updated by the manager with their latest notes. So all of those 10 recommendations will be in there. So if members want to see those, we can provide more detail on those. If you want to see that from the team, we can get information sent out to you on those.
No, I'm happy with what you have explained now.
I think the key reassurance, I suppose, for members is, even though that might seem as though there's lots of recommendations and not 100% of those, that's because there may be actions that are a month or two still to be dealt with. But the reassurance you have is that if we were overdue on those, they've been coming up on your Appendix C or Appendix D, either for a date extension or no date extension, and they're just overdue. So the fact they're not overdue means that you can hopefully get reassurance that the work is being done to complete those.
Brilliant, that makes sense. Thank you.
Councillor Jones and Councillor Bushell.
But could we request a breakdown of those that are high priority to see the progress on those individual ones? Might that help to prioritise results?
Report next meeting, is that something?
Or just regularly moving forward, it's just those that are high priority. There could be, it could just be a progress report on specifically those that are high priority. Because they're high priority for a reason, we want to see that progressing. If something's low priority, then understandable. I think we could all probably assume that the priority would be going to those that are high priority. But I think it would be appropriate for that detail to be drawn out.
If you're happy, Chair, we could look to perhaps amend Appendix A to bring more.
I was wondering that, yes.
I think
Other
the
councillors
percentages of progress
have different formats.
also includes the opportunities that the auditors raise as well, and they're not actually listed in high, medium, and low. So I think we can improve that appendix.
And Chair, just to add to that, so you've got 4 recommendations there that have got high risk. So again, we could add to Appendix A to just give a bit more detail beneath that and say these are the 4, and this is the progress on those. So we can tailor that
Yeah, thank you.
members' needs.
Councillor Bushell.
So just listening to the concerns that are being raised, and the explanation that we've just had about the numbers being added together and then divided by the total sum of the number, the percentage bars from each of them. And I think possibly the easiest way to change the way that we display the percentages is that in each of the boxes, so on line 3, we have 2 high risk. We can have a percentage next to that number. So we can see then, not a grouped, and because that percentage, it does hide a lot, doesn't it? It doesn't demonstrate a true figure. So I think perhaps we should add the progress percent against each number, high risk, medium risk and low risk. And I'm sure that would actually reduce the amount of work for whoever's compiling this, because they won't have to do as much maths to add them all together and then divide by 100.
So it depends on what the report you get.
I think it's just to add some context here. It's the progress of the audit recommendations in its entirety and where we are with implementing those. So when we've received that audit report, there were 10 recommendations, and what we're saying is we're 72% complete of all the recommendations that the auditors have raised. Yes, some of those recommendations had a higher priority than others, but they were all 10 recommendations that obviously came out of that audit. So this is telling you that we're 72% complete of all the recommendations that the auditors have given. They get loaded in as an audit report into the system with the 10 recommendations, and the system automatically calculates the percentage then of that audit report that we've received and how much of that we've completed, in order to provide the percentages for how much we've done on the high risk ones and how much we've done on the medium and the low. The system wouldn't automatically be able to do that. We would have to manually go in and do that, which would create the officer team quite a lot of work, especially with the list that you've got there. So it depends what you're trying to achieve, because ultimately, if your focus is on there's some high risk recommendations there, and what are the team doing to make sure that they're dealing with those, I think quite rightly we could provide some more detail around where you've got half a dozen there that have got high risk recommendations. We can provide some detail, because then you'll see the percentage of those, what value you'll get from seeing the percentage completed on the medium and low ones. Again, they're medium and low for a reason. It might be around updating a procedure note or something like that. But again, quite a significant amount of work to add those percentages to the report, Chair. But I think the focus from a governance committee quite likely would be on the high risk ones. I think the team could add some further information to the report without causing too much extra work for the officers.
Can I just have a supplemental? Because you've said that the system generates these numbers. The system, I'm guessing, is a database. So it might be that we could actually, without intervention, we could just change the way that the database reports to us. Is there anyone expertise who understands the software? Because I don't know if it's us created, but I'm sure that we can get it to output differently. Because the data is definitely in the system for what we're asking. It's just how we ask it to give it back to us.
Let's take it away, Chair. We're all-
Yeah, so rather than micromanagement,
I was thinking to our internal auditor, because it looked like he was jumping.
can we ask Adam to come back to us with a revised structured format with some text around the action taken on the high risk?
We'll take those two requests.
And Roger again, is that right? And then Roger can.
Yes. Take two requests away, but so yeah, subject to.
Thank you, Chair. For me, it's a really positive step that we've got this report available. It's not something that's openly available to every public body, I would say. So I commend management to include this. I think it's a really positive step. Secondly, we can definitely work alongside officers to improve visibility of the progress of those. And just something I will add lastly is that a number of these audits are part of our full audit programme and plan. So therefore, for example, Predators, which is the top line, we're in the process of going through the latest round of that. So it may well be that we have an improved picture on Predators, for example, that supersedes what's here. So it may well be that we can use that to kind of tip off some of these, or indeed create new ones. But we can work. So
I think that adds a reassurance that we're independent. So that's for sure. So, and then we'll come back to us next time with a slightly amended format. Take it from there.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments on the report? Thank you. Please.
Basically, both on extensions.
Oh, okay. So
Two recommendations there, obviously, in 2.1, 2.2, so yeah, you just need to vote on that.
approved. Okay, all the place. Anyway,
Sorry, so
Elton Jones,
post it.
Seth Stevens, second, all in favour? Thank you. Thank you, Mark. For eagerness there, thank you. Work programme. Pages 117 to 120.
Adam, can we put one up?
Yes, the chair, this is John. You said John.
Over the next.
It's going to be exhausted of all this waiting. It's agenda item.
It's worth waiting for, Chair. I can, So item 16, Chair, this is your work programme. Obviously, you've got the 23rd of September items, which obviously as per your agenda. You've got the November items there, as we've alluded to. Obviously, you'll have the reports coming forwards from external audits. In addition to that, there was a report that we were bringing originally to the June meeting prior to the election in terms of chief officer salary levels. So that report is due to come to the November meeting with support from the Local Government Association. So that's going to come to November. Similarly, in November in the work programme, you can see on the same page, we've got a review of some of our policies around whistleblowing, fraud, anti-fraud and corruption and anti-money laundering. At the moment, there's no change to those policies. There are some national changes which we're in discussion with the Council Fraud Manager through Devon Audit Partnership. At the moment, those national changes haven't been embedded, so we're just waiting on those national changes before we make the updates to our local policies. So at the moment, that's planned to come to the November meeting. That may potentially move to January, depending on when those national changes come in. The remainder of the work programme is as per originally set out at your last meeting. So unless there's any questions from members, then obviously we'll open to
Just trying to understand why the chief officer salary, it was pushed forward last time because of the, just intrigued to understand why.
Just thinking that's that one.
it was due to availability from the Local Government Association officer and also for the leader to present that report as well. Because obviously the report itself impacts chief officers who are obviously currently present in this room. Obviously we would have to remove ourselves from the room because obviously it refers to posts that obviously affect us. So in order for that report to come forward, it will be presented by the leader with support from the Local Government Association with work that they've done on that report.
The leader of the council.
Leader of the council.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So the leader is available for the November meeting. Sadly, they weren't available for tonight's meeting, which is why we pushed it back to November.
And I think Mr. Fuller is here. You are still in the room, I think.
That's right, and
Yes.
management's in the.
Making sure that we have ourselves in. So, I know that I've asked our independent member to share any good practice that we can perhaps look in the future, but to discuss. I know in the past our internal auditors have shared a report before we started, or before I started the council, of types of items that are discussed within the other groups, great to have. And also I'm sitting on the Southwest Audit Forum on relevant good practice within audit and governance. So in the future, perhaps share some ideas and other things we may want to on the agendas in the future. But look at some other councils, our agenda is a lot more detailed than some. I'm quite sure.
Just to add to that, I actually have a survey here, which I've been doing as you've gone through all the meetings and taking it up. That's why you will get random emails like, do you make this document? Do you
Yes.
do that? So I am planning on feeding back once I finished it on what's going well, what's not going well.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so item 17.
17 a little bit further on.
Well,
It's not ready.
it's just a thought. From item one, report from the Corporate Risk Register pages 121, 122.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So this is our normal, just the note report in part A of the agenda, the items on our September 24 Corporate Risk Register. Again, we'll discuss in more detail and we'll read part B.
Thank you. Just a note, thank you. So this stage, we're looking at moving into part B. Can I have a proposer and a second official?
Okay.
Thank you.